What is up, you guys? My name is Sarah Lane McNew, and you're listening to the Made for More podcast. Today we have on someone I am so excited for you guys to get to hear from and also to learn from myself. She is a mom, an author, a speaker, a podcaster of a well-known podcast you might be familiar with, the Dear Future Husband podcast. We have Christian Bevere on today.
Hello. Thank you for having me, Sarah Lane. This is so fun. So moody and vibrant here. It's going to be a great conversation.
Oh, yeah. It sets the tone.
It does.
Especially for what we're talking about today. I feel like, we got some mood lighting. It's great.
Yeah. Bring it.
Well, my good friend, Kaylee, for those of you listening, is who connected us. And so it's also just always special. I feel like when you have someone that you both know that is just such a beautiful soul that connects you, it's just always cool. So shout out to Kaylee for that. But I'm going to intro us in with a game as always. And that comes with some flair, one might say. So I don't even fully know what to expect. But I'm going to introduce, we got DJ B on set.
Hey guys, how we doing?
Pretty good.
All right, our game today is called Red Flags. Dun, dun, dun.
Thank you for that part.
Using your Proverbs 31 woman discernment, you'll choose whether these traits are greener than grass or as red as the moon during a lunar eclipse. Y'all ready to play?
I sure am.
All right. Let's go with number 1. He's able to cook and more than ramen noodles.
I mean, is there any doubt
like
on
state
that?
Green
level
flag.
cooking.
So green.
I personally, that is actually not a strength of mine. That's something I would like to get that. But if I had someone that could cook, I'd be like, hey, maybe I don't have to get good at that.
There you go. That's green flag all day.
Green flag.
Number 2. He said God told me.
Do we get
Let's
a...
go multiple directions.
Yeah,
like a pink
God
flag?
told him what?
Yeah.
Like God
Meaning
said, you
like-
have to marry me. When is he saying this? Is it like first date, wedding day?
Right.
Context matters on that one.
Right. I'm assuming this one's like just throws that out there casually all the time, which that would be a little bit of like maybe a pink flag for me, a little alarm. I might be like, do we always need to use that verbiage?
Yeah.
If it's a first date.
Does it have merit if it's used so often, kind of thing?
Right. Yeah. Maybe be careful with those words. Mm-hmm.
I'm no woman, but if he says God told me you're my wife on the first date, you should probably start running.
Noted.
Number 3, he prays for patience, but screams in traffic.
Here's where we have the ideals and the real outworkings like conflicting because, everyone gets some road rage, especially in Nashville traffic.
Sure. Don't we all?
But we do need to see some fruit of the prayers, I will say.
Agreed. That's where the faith gets tested. Is in that Nashville traffic, let me just say.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if he can hold it in, if he can say, hey, this is frustrating, but I got that peace and patience, then I would say that's a green flag. Screaming, might need to work on that.
Yep.
Well, then I think I have some repenting to do. Number 4, he is gentle with kids, pets, and yes, even grandma's potato salad.
I would say that's a green flag.
This man really loves a kitchen.
He does. Bailey, you got something to say?
Yeah, number 5. He says repentance is a one-time event. Once saved, always saved.
Red.
Red.
I mean, you're saved, but are you walking that out? Are you relying on the Lord? There's sanctification and there's justification. There's a whole conversation there.
Yep. It's like we can do nothing to earn God's grace and favor. And so when God chooses us, we are forever saved once we accept Christ.
Right.
However, we have to daily choose to repent.
Like, is marriage a one-time love act? Like, I married you, so we're good.
Ooh, good
Right.
answer. Good answer.
No. You need to love
I
me
like that one.
daily. Choose
Exactly.
me daily.
Choose me daily.
All right, here's our final trait, red or green. Sometimes he is wrong, but he apologizes and he strives to do better.
Green all the way.
Very green.
Very important trait to find in someone, in fact.
He or she. I mean, that's something we all have to do.
We all need to do. All right. Well, thank you, Bailey, for our
Hey.
red and green flags.
Yeah, Thanks for having me. This is Red Flags. DJ B signing off.
I was really looking for like wears sandals on the first date,
because
has
I
a
have a
faux
few that I
hawk.
would be like, if I'm just gonna be so straight up, like I have a few off the cuff, like I'm like green or red flag. Like a green flag to me is like someone that's dressed really well. Now I know that is a hot take though sometimes because people are like, well, if guys put too much thought into what they're wearing, then it's a little like, I don't love that, you know. So I feel like the good balance of like you look nice, you got some good fashion, but it's not your
Yeah.
everything.
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. And then maybe if it's like so overt, like he is rocking some very specific fashion or really obscure fashion, maybe that's more the red flag. But if he's just like, oh, there's potential there, I think that's great.
Right. Do you have one if you were just like off the cuff? Like this is something I'm kind of like, that's my green or red
Fashion
flag.
what? Oh,
Just
just any?
anything.
Oh, what do I see today? I think a big red flag I'm seeing, especially with Christian men, is if they don't actually have mentors and accountability.
That's such a good one.
Sterling, I've had 4 women like in the last month come up to me and they say, I was dating a godly guy. He didn't specifically say like, God told me you're my wife, but there was a lot of like spiritual language there. But around 2 to 3 months, they just fall off and they're like, I can't do this anymore. I think there's a different direction. And what we see with men specifically, you know, and sadly this happens in church too, is that when they don't have a grounding, then anything can be uprooted really easily.
Yeah.
And that happens for their relationships. It happens for their own life. And it's really quite sad for him, but also for his relationship and the women he's pursuing.
Right.
And they don't understand that. They think, well, I'm just following, you know, the peace. I'm following all this. It's like, yes, but it's fickle. It's a wind because you're not rooted in other men. And like women need women. We know that.
Yeah.
But I don't know how much that conversation goes around. Like men need other men. You need to not be just transparent and weepy and everything all the time, but you need to have men that you are okay to go vulnerable with, to invite them into those hidden areas.
Yes.
So you can grow, so you can hear the word of God.
Yep.
Just a hot take I had to preach on real quick.
I am right there with you and don't think that's a hot take at all. In fact, I think that's a necessity because that is something my dad like ingrained like in me and my sister like our whole life was like, if you ever meet someone and you're walking with them, like they should always have someone that's leading them and teaching them. And so
And not just their peers.
right.
Like they need to
true
be
godly
teaching
leader.
other younger men, so they have leadership enacted. They need to have leadership from mentors and parents.
Yep.
Yeah.
So good. That could honestly be a whole
And we're done.
and that's a wrap. Okay, well, I'm going to dive into today's episode topic with everybody. And first, I just love for them to get to hear about your heart and your story of kind of why you started your podcast. And just, you know, I feel like you have such beautiful perspectives and understanding of what God's revealed to you through time, what that journey can look like from singleness to dating to marriage. And so I'd love for you to just first just kind of share what that was kind of like walking through that and now kind of speaking on it to women.
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me, having some space to have this conversation. It is a topic that's close to my heart because I was a listener. I was a woman navigating dating in the church or outside of the church and just thinking, this is leaving me feeling confused. It's leaving me feeling wanting. And if you're like, wait, what is the Dear Future Husband podcast? Is that like you trying to find a husband? No, I thankfully found mine. He's incredible. I don't know how I landed him, but here we are. But it's a conversation around relationship principles, primarily for single Christian women, but it's applicable for women that have been married, women that have been divorced, widowed, you know, whatever your camp and title may be, because we like to put those in little boxes.
Yeah.
It's an exploration of what does the Lord say about relationships? What does it look like to be a good wife? And what should we be searching for in a partner? And it really started by happenstance because we were living in Colorado. We just moved to Nashville. I go to this conference. I'm like, I'm a nobody. I'm in the background just like, oh my goodness, Nashville has Christians everywhere. I love it.
Yeah.
They do content even better. Great. And a group of girls come up to me and they're like, hey, we saw this video you did on Instagram. Mind you, I had like 1,000 followers at the time. And they said, we saw this husband's Bible thing you do. We want to do the same thing. And I just thought, wow, if women that know the Lord, have friends, all these things are still wanting conversation, advice, whatever it may be in this area, then maybe there's some merit to it. Maybe we just do this exploration, not because I have all the answers, but because it's worth having conversations around the taboos, the questions, the context post-COVID dating. What does that look like? And so I had my own husband's Bible, I called it. And I just got a friend. We both graduated college. Like, oh, we didn't get married before we graduated. What on earth do we do now? Because we're in the South and there's no
Did you know I'm
blueprint.
from Alabama?
Oh, no way.
Huntsville.
Okay.
Yep.
Two Alabama girls.
Alabama
yes.
girl. Yep, so I get this.
Yeah. It's like if you don't have your degree or you don't have a ring before you get a degree, it's like there's way too many options.
Yep.
And that's what anyone feels in dating right now. Like you can meet someone on social media. Like there's so many ways you can meet someone. There's so many ways you can meet the wrong person, right? And so this girlfriend and I, we just thought, you know what? We don't know what we're doing, but we know that we can pray. I can pray for your future husband. You can pray for mine. We can write letters to them. And I just got a brown Bible, which I see you have right there. And I started praying into it. I started writing letters to my future husband. I started asking the Lord to guide him as his own person. But then also I was like, and if you could bring us together, that'd be really nice. Thank you. I don't know who I'm going to meet in Alabama. I've either dated everyone in my small town or my friends dated them. And because I graduated college and I moved back home and it felt like the end of the road. I was like, I don't know what the new creativity here is because I feel like I've seen it all.
Yep.
At 22 years old, I was like, there's no way forward. I'm lost.
Right.
But it's a real feeling. Whether you're 22 or 32, 42, it's like, Lord, how do you do something new in this area? And so through that time of praying, I just saw the Lord do so much in my life. He healed a lot of my own things that I needed to work on before I could be in a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
I take accountability for the things that I did wrong, messy. I was like, oh, it was kind of my fault, other people's fault in some ways, but also my fault that relationships weren't working. But then also just accepted, I think, the invite. Relationships are not just a status to put on of like, oh, well, I found the one and I'm married now, I'm a mom now. It's this dying to self.
Yeah.
It is an invitation to see the Lord move through someone else up close. You get to see new facets of them. You get to accomplish amazing things together. And so I feel like if you have that desire for a relationship, you also need to tap into the invitation that God wants to do within your own heart to receive it well. Not like a punishment or a gift, like a test you pass or fail, but it's like, if I want to sign up for this, I want to be ready.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of inner healing, but then there was also dreams and direction and really clear, like to the nose confirmations when I met my husband. So that time of prayer did so much in my perspective, what I believed was possible, what I got to see the Lord do of like little winks that bring me clarity still today, 8 years in, of I don't doubt the hard times because I know, man, I was desperate for the Lord to move in this area and he showed up for you, for me, in ways that's individual to us and strengthening to us, but then also confirming to us as a couple. So that's kind of why I started it, because I know what it feels like to be confused. I know what it feels like to be led and in all of what the Lord can do in relationships. And so I just want to have a place to facilitate testimonies, conversation, scripture, because there's a lot of questions out there.
There are. Well, one reason I just love listening to you, but also just really resonate with you is because obviously both from Alabama. So that alone tells you a lot right there, because the Bible Belt, Southern culture, the way dating and marriage are kind of pushed and treated, it's can be a little pressurizing, especially if you go to like an SEC school and everyone's getting the ring by spring and then you don't, and you're like, oh, okay, well, maybe I didn't even want that. And was that weird that I didn't want it? And you're kind of, it's a very interesting niche, but then you might move somewhere that the culture's like, oh, like no one really gets married until they're in their 30s. Like, so it's different how different locations kind of have a typical scenario that might be different than what you grew up with or, what you ever thought for yourself. And so I love your story so much, because I think so many girls can relate to thinking like, this was the timeline I had foreseen for myself and it didn't come to pass. And now they may be in the thick of that. Like, Lord, I have so many questions as to why I had these desires and they weren't fulfilled. Or they may be in a place of like, do I even want that anymore? Like, how am I supposed to know if that desire is mine or from God? And so the big question on today's episode that I want to get to, that I just love where your story comes in with all this of like, is there a one, or as some people would call it, a soulmate, but like, is there truly one person that God has for you? And so kind of going off of your story a little bit of, I know you talk about how much prayer went into that season of before y'all came to be together, and you saw things that you were like, okay, only by the hand of God would that have happened, because I have had these prayers basically being fulfilled right in front of my eyes, you know? And so would you speak on that a good bit of like when you didn't even know he existed, like you didn't know who he was, to then coming together, experiencing God's favor in that way? Because I think a lot of people hear, because I've heard this, that, oh, well, you know, it's a choice. So at the end of the day, you could make it work with a lot of people. And it's like, while it is true that it is a choice and you're going to have to lay yourself down, and that's going to be a continual commitment to that person, I would love to hear your thoughts on the depths of that.
Yeah. I mean, you're so wisely pointing out all the nuances and the questions that are within this camp. And, you know, my mind's just spewing 1,000 different ways we can answer this. But for me, when I think about what the Lord did to direct me, because you're so true, it could work with almost anyone. Like the advice I heard when I was in college was find someone that's cute and loves Jesus, and then you're good. I was like, that seems really simplistic, and I appreciate that. I appreciate where, you know, de-webbing this thing that's gotten so confusing. But at the end of the day, that means like we could just blindfold eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Right.
I feel like there is more of a opening and like a system almost to the unveiling and like the participation, like invite God into that. That doesn't feel like I'm inviting God into it. That feels like I'm just being frivolous, if I'm honest. And so I was left college really confused about that, because I was like, well, I dated someone that was cute and loved Jesus and it didn't work. Like, so is he the problem, or am I the problem, or is the advice the problem? Which one is it? And so when we're navigating that, I mean, I like to go back and look at the Bible, and especially with the conversations we have, is I'm like, well, what wisdom is there? Because there's nothing of this is how you do dating. Dating didn't even exist. It was courting, and even the engagement period and old Hebrew culture was very different. And so when we look at the Bible and how it talks about relationships forming, there is a lot of interjection. There's a lot of wisdom. There is criteria. When Abraham sent his servant to go find a wife for his son, which first off right there, no one does that anymore. Like 100 years ago, families stopped being involved. And so now it is this independent search, which, hello, that's probably why it is so hard often, because we're navigating it alone. We talked about earlier about why that's not always wise. Not saying you can't choose someone well, but it's like how much better when, you know, it's this assured decision. But when Abraham sends his servant to find a wife for his son, he says, hey, make sure she comes from a good family. Make sure she is this. These are the criteria I'm looking for. And then furthermore, his servant on his way is praying, Lord, will you show me that this is the woman for Isaac? Will she fill not just my water, but my camels? Like, will she be servant-hearted? And so I think there is a necessity for clarity and for almost this list, which I know that like everything we talk about is going to be controversial in this episode, because it can go both ways. But there is this list of, I know I am doing a thorough evaluation, that I'm not just in love or in infatuation with this person, but also they're not just checking a list. Like, it is both and. It is this connection of, I am willing to make a choice with this person. They have my yes 100%. No one can force my yes. I'm giving that freely. But also, I'm giving that yes, not just because my feelings are involved, but my mind, my heart. And in some instances, we get to see in the Bible, because the Lord told me this is the direction. I mean, he literally made a wife for Adam. So you can't tell me there's not some creation and partnership that he brings into it. And I know a lot of women are like, well, that would be great. Like, I'd love for him just to be like, this is the man I made you for. And, you know, I think the pain point there is, well, what do I do when it's not working? And hopefully this is liberating for some people, is, you know, when we look at when Paul says, you know, that I wish all were as I was single, he wasn't saying that because he wants everyone to be single. In his day and age, hardly anyone remained single. And so he's saying, if you have this extreme call of service, of living for the Lord, like, do that full well. And if that's in marriage, great. If it's in singleness, great. But it wasn't just singleness was this almost epidemic of sorts. I'm not saying it is that way, but there is a prolonged singleness we're seeing now that we didn't see 100, 300 years ago. And so there's this reason, aside from just, is God good? And does he care about relationships? That's playing into why it is harder to meet someone. It is easier to get confused in relationships. But we're seeing that in more areas than just dating. We're seeing that people are getting sicker more than usual right now. People are losing their jobs more than usual right now. So there has to be something at play of, man, the way that we've done life, community, and health has, like, I think, super surged faster than we can keep up with it.
Yeah.
And so we're going to see the effects of that in other areas. So the hard thing is to, okay, how do I realign my mind and my hope to where the Lord's directing me? And it has to be to me. If I just say, okay, well, Sarah Lane's going to meet her husband this way, I can't carbon copy that.
Right.
Like our friend Kaylee, she couldn't just say, okay, well, we're going to go meet the same guy at the same place, and by George, we're going to find our husbands. Like, it's this, I always feel like I'm talking out both sides of my mouth when I talk about relationships, because especially, and I'm empathetic. Like, I'm so glad I'm not dating in this stage, because it was hard 10 years ago. It's even harder now. So I have sympathy with everyone listening. But my advice is someone who's seen the things I've seen in my story and other people's story, and the things I've seen even just in the lessons with God, is like, it's always different.
Yeah.
And the goal is not to achieve the thing we're praying for or to cross off that thing we're dealing with. It's, Lord, how can I be so directed by you in this season?
Yeah.
And in my own life, whether it's been things I walk through, things for my children, even trying to get pregnant, whatever it is, like, it's always different. It requires new strength muscles and requires me to be so attuned with his voice that there is an invitation there.
Yep. That's so good, because I
feel like I didn't even answer your question.
No,
but
you did. And because I wanted to also hear what your thoughts were on, like, you can be going on all these dates and you can be saying yes to being open. Okay.
Yeah.
Right. However, I do think something that's become a norm is settling and not even realizing you're settling.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a hard time articulating that to some people, because I feel like the Lord's been gracious and just kind of wrapped my mind in like my discernment goes off very quickly. And I know it's not like that for everybody. Like, I know sometimes it takes people like a little while to kind of be like, wait, that's not aligning with this or whatever. But I found myself, I can be a little too quick sometimes and just be like, It's just like instant. Like, I'm just always kind of been that way. And I think that can be hard too sometimes, of feeling this, like, you're almost like, no, I know when that person will come.
Yeah.
You know? And so I'd love to know kind of your process with that, of when you were praying in that season, but still having that openness to letting God do whatever he's going to do. Because I have found myself personally even in that position of like feeling kind of closed off towards anyone and everyone, because I don't feel like he's revealed that to me. And so what is your like wisdom in that season of like being someone who is looking for a man of God, that they are longing for that one? Because I think, and I'd love to hear kind of tied into this too, growing up in the Southern culture, like, I felt like it was very frowned upon for someone to be like, there is a one. Like, everyone just kind of was like, no, you will always find someone great, like in this, And for me, I never, ever resonated with that. I was like, no, I genuinely think God is such a strategic God. He loves us so intimately and deeply and knows us better than we know ourselves. Why would he have created Adam and then just gone, I'll just give her someone that it might work?
Yeah.
No, like, that was the missing rib, like, that was so ordained. And so I do believe that he just knows us so well. And ultimately, when you are getting married to someone, like, you are becoming one and you are going out on mission for the gospel. Like, at that point, it's no longer just about you. It's you two unifying and then going and doing something for the kingdom.
Yeah.
And so if you really think about it, it's like, it is that deep. And so to me, I've never seen it as like, oh, it's just something that will end up working out for you. I've seen it as like, no, in God's sovereignty and power, like, he aligns the two individuals that, he's created their mission. Like, they've got to be on mission together. So that's kind of a lot, but I would love to kind of know your thoughts on like, when you are in a prayerful season of your life, desiring that, but it hasn't come to pass. Where did God really show you by his hand? Like, no, I've got this under control. And then when you were in relationship with your husband now, you were like, wow, like, man, thank you, Lord, that you did it like that.
Yeah. We keep referencing being from the South. I feel like we should do the rest of the episode with Alabama accents.
Alabama girls.
People are probably like, you already sound like you're from Alabama. I don't know what you're talking about. Just wait. You can always go deeper.
There's always twang. It comes out in waves.
Yeah. Well, Sarah Lane, I think.
So real.
Yeah, it's... Hopefully this is comforting to someone. It's so easy for me to sit, especially if I don't fully know you and I hear bits and pieces. It'd be so easy for me to say, oh, well, that's why you're single, because you're too picky. Or that's why you keep getting your heart broken, is because you don't have a discernment enough. And so if anyone's hearing anything in those regards, I think it's both equally, you want to have your caution up if you're not getting any advice from people, if you're just doing it all by yourself.
Yeah.
Like if you keep stumbling, maybe we should let someone help us walk a little bit. But then also, like, we know in part and we prophesy in part. The same thing is going to be for our advice.
Yep.
I could say, hey, maybe we are being a little too picky, but at the same time, don't lower your standards. Okay, maybe we are getting a little too heartbroken, but at the same day, don't give up hope, because it can happen in a moment. So maybe there's someone that's listening that's like, man, people keep telling me I just need to lower my standards, or I do just need to find someone. There isn't the one. I think in anything the Lord has his hand in, the same is true of his nature, is he can be working on something before we're even aware of it. Things can change in a moment.
Yep.
He can speak life, when he says, like, speak to those dry bones and tell them to arise, like things that feel dry and hidden and messy and dead, for lack of a better word, not trying to be doom and gloom, but like he can restore and renew things all the time. Amen. And so any season where it feels like I have to apply a lot of heart into this, I have to apply a lot of wisdom, and this feels daunting or tiring.
Yep.
I want you to, take the advice, take the hope, be practical, but then also be passionate about bringing it back to prayer. Because as I was praying for my husband, I felt the same way. And there were some days that I was on fire and I thought, man, I might meet him today. Even if I don't, it's amazing. Like, I'm this prayed up future wife over here. And the next day it's Friday night and I'm at home watching it wasn't even The Chosen. It was whatever was before The Chosen. I think it was like the Jesus. I'll have to go back and look at that. But I'm watching the pre-Chosen at home on a Friday night and my friends are going on dates. Like, how do you deal with that rise and fall of the human emotion and experience? Yeah. How do you not settle, but then how do you also not get your hopes up? Like, it's such a conundrum. And so I think that prayer for me was less about getting this picturesque direction and going right to my husband. It was like my anchor, as Hebrews says. Like, it kept me grounded between the thoughts, the concerns, the questions and the answers, the dates and the ghosting. And so what I found through prayer was that I felt comforted of relying on Jesus in such a way. And one word, when I hear desperate, when it comes to relationships, it's always like, oh, well, don't be desperate. You can't want it that much. I was like, no, I was desperate. I really wanted to be married, but I didn't want to do relationships unwell anymore. Yeah. I didn't want to get heartbroken. I didn't want to hurt anyone else. Yep. And so I was in this place of like, Lord, just lead me like I'm blind. Lead me like I'm 5 years old. Unteach me anything I've learned. Because we hear so much dating advice, some good, some bad. And I just said, Lord, I really want you to walk me through this. Not as like a testing him. Yeah. Not doubting that he couldn't do it. But I just want to see him move in a new way. Yeah. And that to me was the best thing from that season. I mean, getting my husband was great. But the best thing was just seeing him move in a way where, the Bible tells us time and time again, knock and I will answer. Call out to me. I will show you great and hidden things, Jeremiah 33:3 says. And so that's any time of conflict or prayer, that's what sticks out to me is like, it can be painful. It can be worrisome, but the Lord inhabits the praises of people. So when we say, this is true, but you are so good. This is hard, but I believe that you can bring something out of it. Yeah. And he does. And so I was sitting at home in Alabama praying and even talking to my mom some days, like, who am I going to meet down here? Yeah. Like, you're going to have to send me somewhere. I'm not meeting anybody. I had like one date and they ghosted me because I prayed, God, if it's not from you, take him away. And he did. And I was like, why'd you do that? And then I just kept praying. And there was days where I would feel emboldened to pray for his protection. And those were like the first inner workings of a wife, I feel like, is when it was more about the person I was praying for rather than just getting the person for me. Yep. And we looked back during it was either early marriage or engagement, and he would tell me stories about things he went through. And I was like, wait, what was the date on that? look back at my husband's Bible and think, oh my goodness, I was warring for you that month. And so the power of prayer is that it stretches beyond time and beyond that present moment of he's doing more.
Right.
And I would just keep praying and praying, and I feel like he would refine my list. He'd refine my vision of what I was looking for.
Yep.
I thought I wanted to be creative, and so I have to kind of marry a creative. And he's like, no, you need someone fiery because you're passionate, but sometimes you need like a little sternness. I was like, great, love that. That's going to be hard. And so he'd refine my search, and he even gave me a dream of my future husband.
Wow.
It was around the time where I was thinking, I'm not meeting anyone. Like, how do I know that this is really what you want from me? You know, you asked that question. How do I know that this man exists and I'm not just Delulu out here praying on my bedroom floor because I'm bored? Like, can you just give me direction? And through all that, I think the struggle or the journey was to like hold all of that with hope, but without control. And I'm such a like type A firstborn. I want to control it. Like, I want to pray the prayer and meet the man and do the thing.
Sure.
But it was, okay, you've given me a vision of what this man looks like. You've given me a little peephole into his life. Like, how do I take all that and then still give it back to you? How do I not just take that dream of what he looked like and find the guy tomorrow that looks semi-close and be like, hey, like that red flag, God showed me, I think it was you. And so that was, when I look back now, that was a really sweet journey. And so yeah, even praying for my husband, I kept that husband's Bible when we were engaged. I didn't tell him about it. I just kept praying for him. And then on our wedding day, that's my favorite part, was giving him this Bible full of my happy prayers, my tears, my letters to him. And just this sweet like highlight of like, wow, this wasn't in vain, even when I didn't have an answer.
Right.
Like, you were that answer now. And you get to see a little pocket of, you know, this journey, which has even double portion meaning right now, is like this preparation for you.
Right. It's so beautiful because, you know, in scripture, you know, I think it's Proverbs 18 when he says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing. And, you know, you can spend so many years thinking, oh, what am I going to get out of this? What am I going to be able to live the dream life and have this person that I've always dreamed of or whatever? But when God really stirs your heart and you start developing a mindset of like, no, how can I actually be this person for this other person? That's when things truly start to change, I believe. And also your approach and your prayers of like, Lord, like, sure, like I have aspirations of who would come hand in hand, like in my life, but I also know who you are and who you've called me to be. And I still see things that, well, I don't want to put that on that person.
Right.
I don't want that to enter the next relationship, you know? And so I think that's also really neat about that season you were in, of saying like, hey, I don't know like why some of those things were happening in my last relationships. And can I use this time to really go there and just really find that brokenness and pray that he will heal it? Because it's like, we'll never have it all together, and we'll never fully be, you know, there's always something to be being renewed and restored in. But I do think, you know, kind of like you've said, of that there is a piece of it that's like, Lord, have I surrendered certain things that are going to need to be laid down for this person? Out of care for them, because like you know, it is the two of you. You know, it's not just your desires, and so I think it's comforting to hear like you were able to give him the layers of all your prayers, and I love that idea. Like, I think that's a beautiful thing, because at the end of the day, you are becoming one with that person. So it's like that is a piece, you know, of you, and you're sharing the part that they weren't really there for yet, which is really cool.
That's why we, so I just had 2 books that come out. One's Future Husband, Present Prayers, to have like moments like this of like, let's just have peer-to-peer talk. You're not crazy. You're allowed to have hopes. That's what that one's about. But then I made a Dear Future Husband prayer journal, because so many people are like, how do you do that husband's Bible thing? Like, which brown Bible did you get? I'm like, let me just make something. But it's journaling. And then there's something in there specifically where we're like, it'd be a really good idea to have how to become a future wife. Because that piece of the puzzle is so pivotal. Hey, if you think dating is hard, marriage is going to be even harder when you realize like it's kind of easier just to get the guy to come to you, and then you have to live with them and serve them, and that takes a dedicated heart that like I'm still trying to do every day and each season. I'm like, how do I be a better wife? And surrender and selflessness is like the key. It's the secret sauce to connecting with a friend, a loved one, but especially a spouse.
Yeah. Because I think, singleness gets such a bad rap. And I feel like the Lord's, over especially the past year, really, really revealed to me, like, what a gift it truly is when it's in its time. Like, when He has that laid out for you, that there's so much there that can be absorbed in that season that
Yeah.
you are meant to do with just Him. And I think in our culture, it's become so looked down upon to be single, like just bluntly. And it's like, well, there's also so much protection. And I resonated when you said that, of like really praying for the Lord's like full protection in that season of like, there's so many things that He can prevent and keep you from, that we can see it sometimes as punishment of like, oh Lord, like everyone else is getting these things, but we don't know the mysteries of why He has certain things written out for our life the way He does. And like He cares about us so deeply that it's like in His time, those things are made beautiful. But maybe there are reasons that He has ultimately certain things planned for you and your spouse, that He needed you both to be in seasons of isolation or solitude without each other for those things to come to pass. And I would love to hear, like, when you two came together, like, were there things that you were like, okay, this makes sense as to why, like, the timeline of meeting Him or being together, that you were like, wow, Lord, like, thank you.
We were fairly young when I felt old because, like you said, I was post-college, but we were fairly young. And so I feel like some of that side of relationships we didn't experience. We saw more of the, oh my goodness, it is this time that you're bringing us together. Very specifically, when I was doing prayer and praying for my future husband, which I was praying just to Jesus and for myself too. That's very important.
Right.
I always pray to Jesus first and then for my future husband. But he started teaching me on Antioch, and that was the birthplace of where the term Christians came from. It's where Paul and Barnabas and all these people were teaching. It's essentially like the small groups hub where everyone's just in the church, learning, growing in their faith, becoming disciples. And I fell in love with that area and that portion of the Bible, and just that model of like, wow, these people are on fire, actually living out their faith, like making it not just something they say, but something they do. And so I was like, cool, Book of Antioch or Church of Antioch, love that. It's gonna be my phone background. I had never really heard it. I'm sure it was preached on, but I hadn't really heard it resonate. It wasn't like we hear, I'm a Proverbs 31 woman. You don't really hear it. I'm a Church of Antioch girl. And and then so I go on my first date with my husband, which was a couple hours long. We just talked and talked and talked so much. And he saw my phone background for a second. He's like, oh, that's really cool. Like, ruins, what is that of? I was like, oh, the Church of Antioch. I didn't hear about it a lot, so you might not know what it is. And I'm prepared to tell him about it. And he's like, no. Like, the Lord's been highlighting on my heart to build an Antioch. And I'm like, what? Who says that? First of all, on a first date, like, how does this discussion just come up of two very specific things the Lord's highlighting in us? And there's just multiple things where we felt such alignment and such clear direction. And so I think for us, it wasn't so much of, is it the time, or we had a delay season because we were young, but it was like, wow, you are someone I can build that next season with in ways that I don't even fully recognize yet, in ways that we're still praying into, honestly. Yeah. And so I think there is so much power and beauty when we look at not just, Lord, will you tell me, is this a person? But like, will you really unite me and tether me with the person you've called me to? I remember before my husband and I first interacted saying, like, Lord, whoever I marry, you need to make it crystal clear, like from the beginning. I don't even want to date them if it's not the one for me, because not to be legalistic or like I want it right now. I just didn't want to go down the wrong routes again, because I knew my own proclivity to falling fast, being emotionally taken hostage, and my own doing. And I said, I really want to be sure from the beginning. You might not do that for everyone, but I feel like for me, you really need to help your girl out. Amen. And he did. And he did that so clearly early on. And so maybe you're listening and thinking, well, I'm in my 30s and I haven't met my person yet. Or it has been, we were the friends to lovers, friend to partners, I feel like is a better way to say that. But again, that goes back to the uniqueness of God in the stories. And I like looking back through the Bible too. And even when we were talking about, is there the one? I was wondering, okay, God, is there? Like, what does your word say about this? Because there are times when people married for love and the Lord was evident in that story. And then there's times that the Lord told people to get married. There wasn't love and love came later. We look at Hosea and Gomer, not probably his planned route, but the Lord said, I need you to do this, one as an illustration, but also as a path for his life. And he did love Gomer. We see Adam, as we said, Eve was created for Adam, very specific union there. And then we see Mary and Joseph, who were already betrothed in an engagement season back in that time. Basically, they were married already. And then the angel comes and says, do not be afraid to marry her. And so there are all these different times of when that confirmation comes. These people are different ages, different seasons, different backgrounds, different timings. Like maybe you're like, okay, I fell fully in love with this person. We didn't have those crazy highlights, or like I haven't felt that yet with the person I'm dating. Oh. I think keep trusting that the Lord will speak, and if he does give you a direction that's not it, being courageous enough to say, I will set down what I think is a good option, or this is the timing that makes sense for what is your best. Because I would just hate for anyone to think, well, it has to look like this way or it's not him, or this is my only chance, I'm getting too old, my fertility window, all the things we hear, especially as women, to limit what the Lord can do in our relationships.
Amen. I feel like I'd love to know your thoughts kind of going off that too. Like for people that are maybe in a dating relationship right now and they're still wondering, like, is this the one? Was there a moment for you, just from a personal perspective of like, you were like, okay, Lord, like that's confirmed. Like, I do think that this is what you have for me. Obviously, you're continually following just, the path and the pace at which you're going at. But, and for him too, was there a moment for him where he was like, oh, it's her, Did y'all ever talk about that?
I think it's funny because I asked my mother-in-law this. I'm like, how did you think I was the one? I always do like the flip side of it because, my husband has just been so faithful. Like not just as a husband, but as a man of God. He's such a great leader. He's so patient. He has his quirks and his flaws too. I won't say those here, but in so many ways, I look back at my own inclinations and I think, wow, God, like I'm so thankful that you led me in that season, and I know prayer was a part of that. But I'm also thinking you could have given him even better than me some days. But he comes from a Christian family. They're of great faith. They're an incredible family, and I remember so early on. Even my in-laws just being on board truly before they really knew me that well. Yeah. And in my mind, I was thinking, y'all need to like vet me so you can give like your approval. But what they said that always sticks out to me is, I talked to my mother-in-law one day and I said, Lisa, how did you know? Like, how did you trust him in that decision? Because you knew me a little bit. Like we weren't off hiding it saying, hey, we're getting married, be on board with it. But I just felt the welcoming from them so early on, which they didn't have with other people in the past. And I was like, what was different? And they said that he was in a season of such knowing before he even met me that, hey, I believe that the Lord wants me to get married. Like that's the next big thing he has for me. And this is a man that has a lot of vision. He's been serving. He's been part of ministry for years at only like 23 years old. And so it wasn't just I got to get married because everyone gets married or I want a relationship. But he felt that strongly, like this time was coming. And they saw something in him of confidence in his choice, of dedication also to the Lord, that they just trusted him with that decision. And me having my own kids now, I'm like, how'd you do that? Because I would have been like, no. Like, y'all need to date for like 3 years. I need to be super sure the Lord needs to strike lightning in this spot. But they were just so confident. And we had a quick engagement. It was all these things, which still shocks me. But I think seeing that on his side of not just his confidence in me, but his parents' confidence in him to choose, assured me that this was a man that had walked with the Lord, who'd gone through some highs and lows, who knew what he was saying yes to. Yeah. And on my side, I think it was more of just, I had this time of praying. I had been talking to my mom. My mom came on our first date, actually, and so did his parents. That's what you want to do. If you want to meet someone, just bring your parents on your first date. But
that speeds it up.
She met him, and at the end of the day, she goes, I think you just met your husband. And just all these things where I'm like, wow, there was, yes, a sure knowing that I had, but our community around us had it too. That's and good. So I'm like, this is just upping the ante for that peace we talk about. And I always say this, I know people hate it, but it's like when you know, you know. Yeah. And I I knew that. I hope this isn't true for everyone else. I knew that from not knowing. The times I thought earlier, oh, this could be it. Like, I think this is the one. That false hope and faith that I had, when I found the real thing, I was like, oh, this feels different.
Yeah. And would you say like you felt that truly in a spiritual sense instead of like, because I feel like one thing that I also see a lot is emotions tend to, on the female side, tend to sometimes overwhelm, and it can be a little foggy for people of like, am I feeling excited, or is like this a true like moment of like, no, I have this internal peace that I just know that this is right. And because I loved what you said about all the experiences leading up to that were also helpful confirmation of like, no, like this is a different sense that the Lord's given me from than things that I've experienced. Because truly, it's funny you say that. That's my actual prayer life in this exact current season I'm in of like, Lord, thank you for everything that has given me perspective and insight.
Yeah.
And thank you for giving the ability to not feel like I have to strive for something or chase for something. Like you've given me
convince
so
yourself.
much. Yes, that I know exactly what I'm looking for. And I will be at peace and contentment with that until you do bring that. And so, I just want to know if you were kind of like, no, like that confirmation with the Lord was so clear. I'm assuming just at that time too, of like, it wasn't just a feeling, like you just knew.
Yeah, I mean, it was both. Like, let's be fully transparent. I was still a girl. I was so excited to get my wedding dress, like all these things.
Amen.
That excitement was still there, but there was something else with it. And I think that's a key element. Like, when I look back now, and I had like 2 serious relationships before I met my husband, and both times I was like, yeah, this is great. Like, this is the relationship. And like, I can look back at my own, like, introspectively, of course, and know, oh, I was trying to convince myself as I was saying that. And that was not the case when I met my husband. I was more like, how? Yeah, this is it. I have no idea how. It's, I've been praying, but it's not my prayers that made this happen. It is just the grace of the Lord.
Yeah.
And that is it's like a great heart posture going into marriage, because then you think, I didn't deserve this relationship. I didn't do anything to earn it. I didn't just get lucky enough to be in the right place at the right time, but I'm a steward of this.
Yep.
I'm a steward of him. I'm a steward of myself as a wife and now our family.
Yep.
And I love that enlarging of it, because it can seem maybe daunting of like, well, shoot, I got to make the right choice if I'm responsible for all that. I think it's more so like nurturing.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gardening right now, and I have a few garden beds that are doing really great, and then some kind of struggling a little bit. And so I'm like, what did I do different? Because they're very minute changes. Like, maybe I watered this one a little bit longer. Maybe I picked better soil for this one. And so I'm learning as I go. And I think for everyone, relationships, when we talk about the one, it seems like, oh, I didn't make the right decision at the right time. Like, it has to be this very intricate thing that happens. Like, no, it's this continual. How are you going to steward your future relationship today? Yeah. How are you going to steward it as you're a wife? Like you're saying right now, how am I going to even speak life over my singleness? Because that's one thing I'm seeing, kind of taking a right turn here. But one thing I see a lot is when we're in the moments of confusion, it's a lot easier to discredit them and try to control the narrative rather than to sit in the misunderstanding. So it's easier to speak death over your current season of, well, there's just no one to date. I can't find anyone. Maybe the problem is me, rather than speak life of, I'm learning so much right now. I have hope that makes no sense, because we want to be comforted in what we can understand rather than feel crazy. Yeah. But shoot, if Noah can build an ark for 3 years and be called crazy by everyone around him and have one of the greatest stories in the Bible, like, what is your marriage going to require of you to have a little bit of faith? Even if, like, the same can be true. We can be in a time where dating's hard. We can be in a time where, sadly, divorce is still 50% in the church. But we also can be people that are amazed by what the Lord does in how we meet our spouse and what we get to do with our spouse and creating a legacy through your family. And so I think anytime we can step back and enlarge the scope of the thing we're in, we're bound to find way better results.
That's so good. I'm just so thankful today how much we talked about the aspect of prayer involved in all of it, because it's like God is so caring and our prayers hold so much weight. Like when we bring things to him, not only does he listen, but he he designed us and he knows
Yeah.
us, So it's like he is so grateful when we lay things down at his feet, because then when these beautiful things do happen, we
Yeah.
can look at it and go, only by the hand of God. Like, that's how he gets the
Truly.
glory. It's like that is him. So it's like your marriage and your story. It's like that was him. And you know that because you have the account for it of like, Lord, I laid all this down and look at what you did. And so that's just so comforting to me. And I know everyone listening, of like, be intentional with your prayers. Like, they matter, but also you can't control it at the end of the day. Like, let the God who knows every detail orchestrate it in his beauty and his timing, because that is when, the best things do become that we would have never thought of for ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I just want to thank you so much for coming on today. Like, you were just so full of wisdom, and I feel like the Holy Spirit just speaks through you. And I am just very honored that you're here today. So thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, and hopefully these are more relationships made for better relationships, better singleness.
Amen. I'm like, we got to get some more up in here. But guys, remember, if you got a pulse, you got a purpose, and you were made for more. We'll see you guys next time.